The Chicago Bears invade our nation's capital as they'll face the Washington Commanders tonight on Monday Night Football in the rematch from last year's Hail Mary or Fail Mary, however you look at it. In the baseball playoffs, the Chicago Cubs season is over after losing to the Milwaukee Brewers in 5 games in the National League's Division Series. What do the men in the blue have to do to return to the playoffs next year? We'll give you our predictions coming up. In college football, the Fighting Illini didn't show up once again against a big-time opponent as they go down fast to the Ohio State Buckeyes. That, in a special edition of Old School TV Monday celebrating the 85 Chicago Bears. You're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago, which starts right now. Welcome to this Monday extravagant edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss LaKeena McGee, which is she. I am Sidney Brown. You know it's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
Be sure to download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We're on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We're unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion, do not 2 hours extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show. You better hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given LaKeena full powers to give you dumpos to Bill and Beer Brute.
Toodles.
But before we begin, shout out to our live game. That's LIVE Live Entertainment game. That's checking us out live right now on our Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels at 12:21 p.m. Central Standard Time. But let's not forget much love to the replay game that's checking us out on the replay, also on our Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. Don't you ever forget our motto where we talk sports, music, or entertainment. We will always provide.
Well, we probably some of the best here on Second City Sports. We got a busy, packed show today. We will talk LCS as the Cubs lose to the Brewers. What they go from here. We'll also preview the Dodgers, Brewers, NLCS. Mariners take game 1 of the ALCS against the Blue Jays in Toronto last night. We'll talk about that. Of course, the Las Vegas Aces win another WNBA title, and A'ja Wilson cements her legend status. Also, men's college hoops is just around the corner. And there's a new number 1 that's atop the preseason bowl for the first time now in college football. Illinois gets a reality check against Ohio State. And, we warned about this the last couple of weeks. Well, James Franklin is now getting his pink slip in his link card. Well, and also an extra $50 million from Ohio. A special edition of Old School TV Monday and so much more because we got a lot to do here. But let's get right to it and preview the Bears-Commanders game, of course. This will be the Monday Night Football. This will be the other Monday Night Football matchup coming up tonight. This one will be on ABC. Of course, the Bills in Atlanta. We'll talk a little bit about that. That'll be the first game up on ESPN. Now, of course, I haven't seen a lot of replays of the Hail Mary as much as I thought they would. They haven't been inundated with it, so I guess that's not a bad thing. I guess if you're the Bears, now they do get some key guys back. You got guys like Kyler Gordon, who's going to be getting his first start this year. Also, TJ Edwards, that could help a little bit in the pass in the rush defense. I don't know about that. We'll talk about that too. Looks like DeAndre Swift is also a go as well. So the Bears are healthier coming back from the break, but weather could be a factor though, because there's going to be some steady rain, in Landover, Maryland right now as we speak, and weather could be an issue. So it could be a run game kind of thing, if for the Bears and the Commanders game. So, what do you think?
Uh, you know, here's the thing. Despite the weather elements, possible weather elements for tonight's game, I'm looking at two things from this Bears team tonight. One, the offense. It's been, it's been, if not all 4 games this year, at least a couple of the games that we scored an opening drive touchdown, which we couldn't do last year. So I'm looking forward to that tonight and see if the Bears could get off to a better start, especially offensively, especially after having a bye week. But number two, I'm looking at that run defense from the Bears. Jacoby Krosky Merritt, who had a big game for the Commanders a couple weeks ago against the San Diego Chargers of Los Angeles, as we call them on this show. The Bears' run defense has a tall task on their hands tonight. They have not stopped the run consistently for the last couple of years, and they're off to a bad start once again this season. So I'm looking at, can the Bears get up to a hot start tonight, scoring an opening drive touchdown, not a field goal, but a touchdown. I want to see if Caleb improve. I'll definitely want to see that run defense, see if we could be average. I know that's asking a lot from this piss poor group. I want to see if that group can become a factor tonight. And number three, I want to see how the secondary reacts to Jaden Daniels, because remember that game last year wasn't the greatest, but Jaden Daniels found a way to cover up that secondary. So I'm looking at, can the Bears offense get up to a fast start tonight, scoring touchdowns, not field goals? The Bears rush defense and that secondary, can they create more turnovers? I think they could be more dangerous if we can get a pass rush, which is my fourth thing I'm looking at tonight. The Bears, Montez Sweat, 1 sack through the first quarter of the season. That's not going to get it done. I know you mentioned TJ Edwards returning and getting Kyler Gordon back, which will help, but I'm not so sure if things can turn around magically in one day tonight. I'm just not convinced of that just yet.
Especially,
but right now I'm not there yet.
Especially since Grady Jarrett's going to be out, so that's going to be a big that could be an issue for them. And I'm sure Cliff Kingsbury, the OC for the Commanders, going to be looking at this and say, okay, they'll probably just give the ball to Bill to the whole night tonight, especially since whether it could be a factor here. For the secondary for the Bears, I mean, look, you don't have to worry about Terry McLaurin and Noah Brown, who caught that hail or fail, how you look at it. They're both going to be gone. Debo's going to play. No, he's questionable, but he's going to play. You still got to deal with Luke McCaffrey. Yes, there's another McCaffrey, that's Christian's kid brother, who's had a couple of touchdowns this year. You also Zach Ertz, Mr. Reliable. I think he's going to be primed for a big game. He's probably going to be targeted too a lot from Gordon, that secondary. Now, as for the defense, having to face facing Caleb here. You got a lot of veteran guys. You got Von Miller, you got Bobby Wagner, you got Preston Smith. I mean, there's a lot of, and Marshawn Lattimore as well. I mean, there's a lot of the veteran guys on that Commanders defense. And we know Dan Quinn's a very defensive guy, so you got to think that they're going to kind of pound the ball to Caleb a little bit and try to kind of rush him and try to kind of sort of. I know people thought saw that game last year, and look, the defense was able to tame Jaden Daniels for the most part, but remember, he wasn't 100% then. You got to feel like he's a little bit better this year, so that's going to be a tall task for Dennis Allen. Now, could Kyle Gordon make a difference in the secondary? Sure, but again, yeah, you don't have to worry about McLaurin, but you're still dealing with Debo, you're still dealing with Ertz, and I think that's going to be the thing. And this is going to be his first game. We're talking about Gordon. This is going to be your first game that he's going to be doing playing this year, so it's probably going to take him a few series to kind of get into a rhythm. So I would implore Bears fans to be patient, because if he is a little bit rusty in the beginning, especially if the rain is going to be an issue, then I think your Bears fans just kind of take their expectations with Gordon here.
You listen to Second City Sports on Chicago City. LaKeena here with you on this Monday Extravaganza edition. Preview tonight's Monday night matchup between the Chicago Bears and the Washington Commanders. You can watch that game on ABC at 7:15 p.m. Central Standard Time. LaKeena, let's go back to that Bears offense. I mentioned Caleb Williams and crew has to get up to a fast start with touchdowns, not field goals. But I'm worried about that offensive line. Braxton Jones out, Theo Benedict in. I don't know if Darnell Wright is going to play tonight or not. But Ben Johnson he's pulled the hook. He said, Braxton Jones, I don't care what your situation is. You out of there, Theo Benedict. You're in. We'll see what you could do. Remember, Theo Benedict replaced Darnell Wright, who got injured a couple weeks ago against the Las Vegas Raiders, actually did a decent job on Max Crosby, who was giving them problems through the first 3 quarters of that game. Tonight, I want to see how Theo Bennett reacts, and if Ozzie Trapillo gets in there, I want to see what he can do tonight. This Bears offensive line is in reshuffle mode again, but I want to see how they do, not just protect the Caleb Williams, but most importantly in the run game. I told you a couple weeks ago, DeAndre Swift. I know he said to the media just right before the season started, well, I'm not doing anything different. We know that he is running between the tackles. Ben Johnson loves his running backs running between the tackles. If you know DeAndre Swift, he's great when he's running those sweeps and running towards the outside, on the outside toward the sideline. But getting between the tackles, he's not that great. So I want to see how DeAndre Swift reacts to the running game tonight. What kind of running plays will Ben Johnson be calling here? It's just how many runs, inside runs he'll be calling for DeAndre Swift to operate in. Because if he calls a lot of inside runs and DeAndre Swift can't get through the first burst, there's going to be some problems.
He'll be matched up against. Well, Bennett's been decent, like you said. He did tame Max Crosby a couple of weeks ago, but he's going to be facing probably Von Miller or even Bobby Wagner, and these 2 guys are both veterans, so they might they might want to sit. They may have a bigger challenge here. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Now we both got the Commanders are winning this game. I know our Rokusi man from KXRB has the Bears. So we'll see. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of matchup this will be. I mean, yes, I'm sure the Bears are going to be in revenge mode. But look, the Commanders, they're kind of feeling themselves a little bit, especially after beating the Chargers and with Philadelphia now losing 2 in a row. If they win this game, they could be at the top of that NFC East. So Dallas losing as well. We'll get to that game after the break. If they win, they could take over the league in the NFC East after this. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting what happens tonight. But yeah, so there's a lot at stake for both teams. So the Bears better be ready.
Couple of points to wrap up with it before we break for the bottom of the hour. One, you brought up this name regarding the Commander's office. That's Zach Ertz, former Philadelphia Eagle, by the way, and Arizona Cardinal one time. He's going to be key tonight only because of the return of TJ Edwards. We don't know how he's going to respond. And those Bears linebackers have given up big plays at times to the Titans this year. Remember the 12-catch performance by Jake Ferguson early in the year with the Dallas Cowboys? Now, that was on the Bears defense. Zach Ertz, I'm not predicting that he's going to get 12 targets tonight, let alone 12 catches, but I can see him getting 3 to 5 catches tonight if the Bears do not provide a consistent pass rush. I can see Zach Ertz 4 catches for 75 yards or something like that. He's always going to be a threat in the red zone as well. So I can see Zach Ertz putting up a touchdown tonight, about 3 or 4 catches for 50 to 75 yards and a touchdown. So the Bears got to be very careful of leaving guys open in the middle of the field. I'll be watching for that too. And on the flip side, back to the Bears special teams. I know Cairo Santos has appeared on an injury report yesterday, but kicking, as we saw yesterday, and as we've seen throughout the first few weeks of the season, it is very important. I can't believe that we have a kicker that can barely kick a 50-yard field goal, but he was very consistent when he came on the team a couple of years ago, but something's starting to wane with him, and it's starting to be a little bit inconsistent a bit, and I don't like it.
Could be interesting to see, especially with the rain. We'll see if there's going to be any wind if he does play today. So it'll be, something to look out for as well. Now, again, the Bears game will be on Monday Night Football on ABC. Of course, you get the top guys. Joe Buck and Troy with the call there with Lisa Salters and Laura Rogers on the sidelines. So we'll talk. Well, if we got time, we'll talk about the Buffalo Atlanta game coming up later on. But after this break, we're going to talk the rest of the Week 6 in the NFL, including a couple upsets and some a little bit of let's just say a little dysfunction down in South Beach. We'll have that and so much more coming next. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. NFL Week 6 recap, including Suds and Duds, coming up right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. On Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel, you can find us at Sports Zone Chicago. And on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Chi. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Oops. Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports, hashtag Monday Extravaganza edition of Locked and Loaded, and we're live and living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago. I'm Sid, that's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, again, the IG.
If you have any thoughts on the Bears and Commanders matchup tonight on Monday Night Football, and we'll review yesterday's action from the NFL, you could definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
And if you're off today for whatever they're going to call it a holiday, if you're listening or watching us the first time, thank you. You make sure you guys tell your friends about us. Also, happy Thanksgiving to our friends up in Canada. Let's get to some of these games. I know we should have a time to get through all of them, but let's talk about the London game. I'll admit that I didn't watch a single minute of this game. The Broncos hold off the Jets 13-11 back, down there playing at Tottenham Stadium. Bo Nix had 174 yards and a TD pass. Not really much here. Pat Bryant, Nate Aikens caught that TD pass. And on the flip side, though, for the Jets, Justin Fields, 45 passing yards, 92 rushing yards total. It was just an awful game, and I feel bad for the folks that got stuck watching it. But so, Sid, did you watch this game?
I had it as background noise for a total of 5 minutes. That's it, and I turned. You described it all in the Broncos. So I don't know whose offensive performance was worse, Denver's or the Jets. I'll take the Jets just because like you said, Justin Fields 45 yards total passing. The Jets defense got their first takeaway of the year. That was nice, but outside of that, they didn't waste any more time on this game. The Broncos are 4-2. They win another game on the road. The Jets 0-6. I know there's questions on both New York radio stations that if Aaron Glenn should be gone after the first year. No, folks, this season was not about them winning. It's about who's going to be there for the long haul in this regime. So if you think that Aaron Glenn is going to go anywhere, you can yourselves. Did they look terrible yesterday? Yes, but suggest that Aaron Glenn should be gone by the end of the year. That's just being overstating things. Move on.
Yeah, poor Fields was sacked 9 times. So if you had the Broncos defense in your fantasy lineup, you had a nice start to your Sunday yesterday. Now, most of Chicago, most of Illinois, I guess, got this game. The Steelers beat the Browns 23-9. Aaron Rodgers threw for 2 TDs, 235 yards. On the flip side, Dylan Gabriel, 221 yards. Quinshawn Judkins had 36 rushing yards for the Browns. DK Metcalf for the Steelers had 95 receiving yards and one of those CD passes from Rodgers. 4-1 the Steelers are. I know some people want to kind of give them the AFC North Division, but let's see. I would have folks hold off on that right now. What say you?
Yeah, the Steelers didn't look that impressive to me either, even though I did have them winning this game. Cleveland was a little bit more disappointed. I thought they would keep it closer to what the final score indicated. They did for a while, but you mentioned Quinshawn Judkins, the rookie running back for the Browns, didn't show up yesterday. I didn't think Dylan Gabriel did that poorly. It's just that the Browns just could not put it in the end zone. They settled for field goals outside of the first quarter. It's just that they just really couldn't get going. When you ask the defense to hold the opponents like that for so long, it's not only if they're going to bend, where they're going to break. Unfortunately, they broke in that second half, and the Steelers were just able to do enough to win. The Steelers didn't impress me all that much, to be honest with you. They just did enough to win that game because the Browns were so putrid on offense.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. So I agree. I wouldn't put this on like I guess the Steelers were like world beaters. It was just that the Browns just weren't very good. Now, speaking of disappointment, down in South Beach, the Chargers hold off the Dolphins 29-27. 2 TD passes from Mr. Justin Herbert. Kimani Vidal had 124 season high 124 rushing yards. That Lad McClunkey had one of those TD passes, and Vidal had that other TD catch. On the flip side, Tua threw for 3 interceptions. Devin Kane did have 2 rushing touchdowns, 128 rushing yards. Jalen Waddle had 95 receiving yards, and I guess Tua might have spilled some tea after the game. We're not going to have time to get deep into it, but yeah, things are getting bad. The Dolphins are 1-5, and Mike McDaniel might be getting his pink slip in his link card.
Well, the Dolphins did play better yesterday. Just that I thought that third quarter did them in. The Chargers outscored them 14-0. The Chargers kind of looked lost there in that first half. The Dolphins were aggressive, both offensively and defensively, but that third quarter did them in. So the Chargers, as we said, they struggled the last couple of weeks, losing against the Giants and the Commanders, but they get an important conference win on the road to improve their record of 4-2.
Yeah, and things are bad down there in South Beach. You got Tyreek Hill done for the year. Yeah, it's pretty bad now. These are also getting bad in Baltimore as the Rams beat the Ravens 17-3. We all picked the Rams, so it was really not a big surprise. Matthew Stafford didn't really have to do too much, 181 yards in the TD. Kyrie Williams, I know he got banged up. He had a rushing TD. On the flip side, though, Cooper Rush, we'll just say he was bad, and they had to bring in Tyler Scoop Huntley. He wasn't much better. 4 sacks. Derrick Henry 122 yards, and I know that there were shorthand on top of the Ravens, and that bye week could not come at a better time for the Ravens. I know they're 1-5, but their schedule. They play the Bears after the bye, so Lamar Jackson should be back, and they got a pretty favorable schedule. So. Again, look, it's a tall order, but we've seen it done, and look, I'm not going to give up on the Ravens just yet.
The Ravens got the league right where they want them, right? But yesterday's game, I'll be honest with you, LaKeena, I thought the Rams, before the Williams injury, I thought they were sleepwalking, to be honest with you, because they knew that Lamar Jackson was not going to play. But they did enough just to win. The Rams defense was just good enough. And those 14 third quarter points was the difference in the game. The Rams, just, as you mentioned, just couldn't get nothing going on offensively. But the Rams definitely need to this performance on the road, and it's a team they needed to beat record-wise. So they got the win to improve to 4-2 overall, and still stay within striking distance with the 49ers and the Seahawks in the tough NFC West.
Oh, sorry, nothing. It's just that these Nets are becoming annoying, so sorry about that. Shout out to our buddies for who had the call. This came for CBS, but actually ended up being pretty entertaining, I guess, well, at least early. The Patriots hold off the Saints 25-19. Drake May threw for 3 TDs. He also was the leading rusher. I know Sid Haystack. Kashan Butte had 2 of those TD catches. On the flip side for the Saints, Spencer Rattler threw for 227 yards. Alvin Kamara had 31 rushing yards, leading the way there. And it was kind of a strange game. I kept my eye on this one because I was supporting our buddy Spiro, but it was a little weird game, no doubt, to watch. The Saints had their chances, especially late, but they just couldn't pull off the comeback.
Yeah, you mentioned the Saints only 3 points total for their offense in the second half. I know they'll play the Bears here in Chicago next week. We'll preview that game on our next show on Friday. But as far as yesterday was concerned, after halftime, the Saints just, as I mentioned, couldn't get it done. The Patriots, they got out to a strong start, led 14-6 after one. They put another touchdown on the board after that, and they got the job done. So I know as many people expected them to blow out the Saints. We were like, hey, the Saints are not as bad as you think. They've been playing well for the last 2 or 3 weeks, so the Saints did what they could, but the Patriots did enough just to win. Drake May, it looks like he's finally started to turn the corner for the Patriots.
Yeah, it looks like the Bears, like I said, they do play the Bears in a few weeks, so that could be an interesting game there. Now, I lost my place here. But Arizona, okay, I'll get to the stat here just a second. Our buddy McGee from CBS 3 in Phoenix had this stat, but I'll get to that in a second. The Colts, this is actually a pretty entertaining game, oddly enough. I don't know, I think people assumed this was going to be a blowout. It wasn't. The Colts held off the Cardinals 31-27. 2 TD passes from Daniel Jones, rushing TD as well from Jones. John Taylor had 123 yards in a TD. 2 TD passes for Jacoby Brissett in relief of Kyler Murray. It was one, and also Zay Flowers also 79 receiving yards. I know Marvin Harrison Jr. He had to leave early due to concussion, so that played a little bit of a part there. The fact that they actually had their shots to win this game, they weren't able to do that, and this is what our buddy Nick King said. Their last 6 games have been decided on the final play. The other 2 were decided by defensive stop. That's what happened yesterday. The Colts had a defensive spot. That's 6 one-score games, and they lost 4 of those 6. So they now go to 2-4. I'm talking about the Cardinals, and those losses can come back to bite them in the butt though down the line.
Yeah, when you're a young team like the Cardinals are, you have to win games like this, close games like this, to get over the hump. And shout out to Jacoby Brissett. He did a better job than I thought, than anybody thought he was going to do. I know he's been in the league, for about a decade plus being the backup, but he came in and did a tremendous job. It's like that Cardinals defense just couldn't hold it. But LaKeena, did you see that film right before the game? It was Anthony Richardson. Somebody else got injured in a weird way doing pregame warm. I was like, I'm not saying that you can't get injured during pregame warm-ups, but how in the hell did that happen?
I don't know. I guess one of those freak injuries and such. So just another another bullet point in the life that's been Anthony Richardson since joining the NFL. Unfortunately, just another chapter in that one. But a nice win by the Colts. They go to 4-2. Speaking of 4-2, Seattle, they held off the Jags 20-12, and I told you so this would happen, that this would be, I don't want to say it was going to be this was a letdown day for the Jags. I just said that Seattle, just had a little bit more talent. Sam Darnold had 2 TD passes, 295 yards. If you had Jackson Smith and Nigba in your fantasy, you got a nice showing there, 162 yards and a TD catch. Cooper Kupp caught the other TD for the Seahawks. Trevor Lawrence threw for 2 TDs as well, but just couldn't get the rushing game going. Of course, you have Etienne. Only had 27 rushing yards to lead the way there. Brian Thomas Jr., 90 receiving yards and a TD. So, unfortunately, this was definitely one of those games where they had the Jags had a high win from Monday night, and I figured that was going to be. I don't want to say they played bad. They actually were up 6-0 in the first quarter, but Seattle kind of imposed their rule early. They were able to pull away late.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Jacksonville, they couldn't get over the hump offensively, like a running game, and they were still in it at recess, but they only scored 6 points. I'm talking about the Jaguars coming out of the locker room, and that's very unacceptable. You mentioned Seattle over the years being a very good team on the road, especially on the East Coast. A lot of that is due to Pete Carroll over a decade ago, but Seattle didn't just enough to win. Sam Darnold is proven. I know he doesn't have statistics like he did a year ago in Minnesota, but he's more than an effective quarterback. He just knows how to win games. So we coming to the season, we thought Seattle, okay, maybe, but They're right up there in the NFC West at 4-2, 3-0 away from Seattle. So they may be dangerous that they can stay healthy. So we'll see what happens with them down the road.
Going to be an exciting team to watch. Excuse me, no doubt. Now, the last of the noon games, Carolina, last-second field goal. They upset Dallas 30-27. Bryce Young had 3 TD passes, 199 yards, but the real story here was Rico Dowdle, who, against his former team, had a total 239 yards from scrimmage. He had 183 rushing yards. He had a TD catch as well. Dak Prescott on the losing end threw for 3 TD passes. Again, the running game just wasn't there for Dallas. Unfortunately, yeah, it was just the fact that the defense, once again, Matt Eberflus, why are you still at DC? Why isn't Jerry Jones fire you? But anyway, look, I mean, the Panthers are now at 500 at 3-3, while the Cowboys go to fall at 2-3-1.
Yeah, who would have thought that the Panthers would be at 500 at any point in the season, right? Rico Dowdle, the former Cowboy running back, he said in the media last week to tell he told his former mates, strap up. No, we're not talking about violence. We're talking about buckle your chin straps, strap up. So it's going to be a long day. Well, it was for that Cowboys defense. Dowdle, as you mentioned, 183 yards rushing, with over 30 carries. Dak Prescott was the only thing that stood out brightly for that Cowboys offense with 3 touchdown passes with 261 yards. And George Pickens had a nice game as well. But it's their defense, LaKeena, for the Cowboys is definitely going to cost them the playoffs. Now, we talked about that offense for the Cowboys potentially struggling without CeeDee Lamb, but they scored a total, including yesterday, a total of 104 points in the last 3 games. That's not been a problem. The problem has been their defense, and I don't know what they're going to do to straighten it out anytime soon. But as we talked about Arizona just a moment ago, with the Dallas Cowboys, games like this that you lose and teams you're not supposed to lose to, this could come back at the end of the year if you're trying to squeeze into the playoffs in a wild card spot. So let's pay attention to that element with the Cowboys right here.
So let's watch out for down the line. This is NCAA Sports on Sports Social Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you, talking the rest of the NFL Week 6 action. And the first of the 3 o'clock games, the Raiders took care of business against the Titans 20-10. Geno Smith threw for 171 yards and a TD. Ashton Jeanty had one of his best rushing performances of the season, threw for 75 yards, rushed for 75 yards in a TD. Cam Ward threw for 221 yards in a TD. Van Jefferson was leading receiver for the Titans. And, this actually just came in. If you had Brian Callahan, the Titans coach, as the first coach to get his pink slip in his link card, well, this just happened. They just posted about a minute ago, I'm talking about Ian Rappaport from NFL Network, that he has been fired after the Titans fall to 1-5 with his loss against the Raiders.
Yeah, we knew it was going to be a rebuilding year for the Titans, especially with that rookie quarterback Cam Ward. But I want to find out why they made this move. Now, if they made this move just to get a shot in the arm, I don't know if that's going to work. So I want to find out a little bit more why that move was made. But back to the game yesterday, they Raiders defense, including Max Crosby, hunted down Cam Ward yesterday. They did a tremendous job. We mentioned Ashton Jeanty outside of Max Crosby being the MVP for that Raiders franchise. He did well yesterday. So we'll see. The Raiders are 2-4. I know they play the Chiefs next week, and we'll see if they can bring that energy there. But they had to take care of business. I'm talking about the Raiders yesterday against a lesser opponent, and they did just that.
All right, one of the games of the week, Tampa held off the Niners 30-19. Baker Mayfield, 2 TDs and 256 passing yards. Rashad White had a rushing TD, so did Sean Tucker for the Bucks. Tez Johnson got his first TD catch of his career. A nice little flip. Well, he was flipping out there in a good way. On the flip side, Mac Jones threw 2 interceptions and was sacked 6 times. So that defense for the Bucks, imposed their will early on. And unfortunately for the 49ers, the injury continues as Fred Warner, their all-pro linebacker, suffered a dislocated ankle. He's done for the year. So the 49ers fall to 4-2, and they're running out of guys, Sid. So especially losing one of your top guys on defense for the 49ers, that's just brutal.
Yeah, that Fred Warner injury. I had that game on this via computer screen live in 11 cover yesterday. I saw that injury. It was like, not good. And to lose him for the year, that's definitely going to be challenging within itself for the 49ers. You already have Nick Bosa out for the year. Now you have Fred Warner out. That's not good. But Mac Jones, M-A-C Jones, 347 passing yards, but you mentioned 2 interceptions, being sacked multiple times. That was not good. The 49ers offense produced only just 3 points in the second half. That's not going to get it done. The Buccaneers, on the flip side, they weren't as dominant as you thought, but they did what they had to do to win, especially in that first half. But I want to ask you a quick question, LaKeena. Maybe we can get into this time permitting, or maybe on our next show on Friday. But do you think that Baker Mayfield's a top 5 MVP candidate? Someone put it out there yesterday. I said, I think he's there. That's just me personally.
Yeah, I think he's definitely in the discussion because I think he's been one of the reasons why the Bucks are now 5-1, have one of the top records in the league. So yeah, I definitely agree that he's definitely in a discussion for MVP. Like I said, still very early on. We're not even halfway through the season yet, but yeah, he's definitely making a case there. Now the other game, the other marquee game, I know a lot of people in Chicago had this one. The Packers, again, not pretty, but they beat the Bengals 27-18. Jordan Love threw for a TD and an interception. Josh Jacobs had 2 rushing TDs. On the flip side, Joe Flacco, and literally not off the street, but he was just traded there like a couple of days ago. He threw for 219 yards and 2 TDs. Unfortunately, they did get a couple of garbage TDs late, but it wasn't enough as the Packers, again, not the prettiest but performance, but they held on against the Bengals.
Yeah, Joe, I almost said Joe Burrow, but negative. Joe Flacco didn't look that bad in his debut. Too bad it had to take the second half for that Bengals offense to wake up, but they did. Jamar Chase had a couple of nice catches. He had 10 catches overall for 94 yards in the score, but it was a Josh Jacobs show for the Packers, and that's what saved their offense because I didn't think they looked that impressive. I thought they were just cruising along in that first half, but Josh Jacobs helped their Packers offense wake up in that fourth quarter to put up 17 points to pull out that victory.
Yep. So yeah, I think after that bad loss against the Browns a couple of weeks ago, before their bye, I think it was definitely the win that the Packers need. Now the Sunday nighter, you had the Chiefs beat the Lions 30-17. Pat Mahomes threw for 3 TDs. He also had a rushing TD as well. Travis Kelce, 78 yards. Hollywood Brown had 2 of those TD catches. Jared Goff threw for 2 TDs. Jahmyr Gibbs, 65 yards. David Montgomery just couldn't get the rushing game going either. And I think the defense, a lot of their guys are out. So unfortunately, I don't want to say that. Okay, I'll say I think the Chiefs look good, at 3-3. But again, they were completely short. The Lions defense was completely short-handed last night, unfortunately. So that kind of played a part too.
And they may be short-handed again next week in their Monday night matchup against the Commanders. We'll get to that in just a second. But as far as the game's concerned, Detroit, I thought, opened the game aggressively. That's the way Dan Campbell, the Lions, likes to coach. Did you see that fourth down play, LaKeena? Dave Montgomery with a touchdown pass to Jared Goff. It looked great, but it was illegal formation. So they had talking about the Lions had to settle for the field goal in the opening drive. And number 2, that drop by Amon St. Brown toward the end of that first half. I thought that was a big factor in the game as well. They missed on a couple of fourth down conversions as well. So you can tell that the Detroit Lions thought that it was going to be a shootout between them and the Chiefs. A couple of missed opportunities gave the Chiefs the door to be left open, walk right through it. Well, the Chiefs ran through it and got the 13-point victory at home.
Yeah, so Rashee Rice will be back, I believe, this Sunday. So, again, we'll see if the Chiefs are really back, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Now, your studs and duds real quick for NFL Week 6.
All right, first stud is Josh Jacobs for the Green Bay Packers. 18 carries, 93 yards, and 2 touchdowns as the Packers beat the Bengals 27-18. My second stud will go to Ashton Jeanty of the Las Vegas Raiders. 23 carries, 75 yards in the score as the Raiders beat the Titans 20-10. And my third stud will be Rocky Dowdle of the former Cowboys running back, now with the Panthers. 30 carries, 183 yards. Strap up, buckle your chin straps. He had a big-time performance for the Panthers as the Panthers upset the Cowboys 30-27.
Mine are Jackson Smith Enigma for the Seahawks, 162 yards in the TD there. Baker Mayfield is right there in the MVP discussion, 256 yards and a TD. And I'm going to change up a little bit for my third stud. Let me see if I could get it here. Nate Landman, who's a fourth-year guy from Colorado. He had a career-high 17 total sacks, including 8 solo, 17 he didn't have any sacks, but he did 17 total tackles, 8 solo. And it was Tom Brady's LFG player of the game. He was a big reason why the Rams were able to, the defense basically pounded a shorthanded Baltimore Ravens defense. But I just figured I'd give him a shout out there. So, Nate Landman, another one of my studs.
All right, my 3 duds quickly. The New York Jets offense, not good. The Cowboys defense overall, bad, especially against the Panthers. Now you have them at 3-3. And Brian Branch of the Detroit Lions at the end of the game yesterday, he refused to dap up Patrick Mahomes at the end of the game. He shoved Juju Smith-Schuster. Of course, Isaiah Pacheco came in defense of his teammate. Him and Branch started shoving, fighting to the ground. And of course, Juju Smith-Schuster came over in his own defense and fought Brian Branch. I know Lions head coach Dan Campbell was not happy after the game. I heard Branch's comments to the media following the game. He said that he was upset because he got blocked in the back by Juju Smith-Schuster, and the refs didn't see it, didn't call it. That's why he went after Juju Smith-Schuster. I know Branch has been fined, I believe, 13 times in his 2.5 years in the league. Not good. I think that Commissioner Goodell is going to take a hefty chunk amount of change on your paycheck tomorrow, brother. Just saying.
Yeah,
and you may be suspended too, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, he's already been in like 3 fights, I think, this year. So he might have to be suspended a game or two to kind of, I guess, get them out to send a message there. Now, my 3 duds real quick. I got the Dolphins. I don't know what's going on down there. Tua might spilled a little bit of tea, and that might not go over well with some of his teammates. We'll see. Arizona again. You had a chance to win and you couldn't execute. I mean, that's just terrible. And my other I'll just say the Dallas defense by default and agree with you on that one.
All right, so mention the other Monday Night Football game that will be taking place opposite of the Bears Commanders system. The Atlanta Falcons at 2-2 hosted the 4-1 Buffalo Bills tonight at 6:15 on ESPN. The Buffalo Bills are currently favored by 3.5 points. I think all of us took the Buffalo Bills. LaKeena, do you see any thing that will change your mind?
Yeah, I mean, again, if you're Atlanta, you got to get a quick start earlier against that Buffalo defense. You probably say that defense is, I believe that the Patriots kind of gave you the formula to kind of, go through that Buffalo defense. So if Michael Penix can avoid any interceptions or anything, say like that, Bijan or Bijan, however you want to say his name, Robinson, is able to, it's to sort of, go through that rush defense of the Bills. I think they could be able to pull off the upset. We'll see, but I think the Bills are just talent-wise, the Bills are a little bit could they pull off the upset? Sure, they can. I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
The Buffalo Bills rushing attack was non-existent last week. It better be in existence tonight. Give James Cook the rock, let him cook, and then Josh Allen, let him do his thing after that. And I think the Buffalo Bills should win this game close to comfortably, but we'll see what happens tonight. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 straight ahead. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago's Monday Extravaganza edition. What can Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins do this offseason to improve the 92-win Chicago Cubs after being eliminated by the Milwaukee Brewers last Saturday night? And we'll give you the National League Championship Series preview between the Brewers and the Dodgers. And we'll review last Friday night's Game 5 classic between the Tigers and the Mariners. That and a whole lot more. You stick and say right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
How do you take care of your mind health?
For my mental health, I meditate in the mornings.
I have my dogs. They're the best.
I just find ways that help me just relax.
Finding things that make me happy, like being close to my family.
I meditate a lot and read books.
I have hobbies outside of the game. I'm able to switch off. I'm able to turn my brain off from the game of basketball.
Your mind health matters.
Your mind health matters.
It's a romance sport. What? It's a romance sport like that.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, no matter where we serve, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Everybody in a work zone is someone's somebody.
This is my mom. She works for KDOT.
This is my dad.
This is my mom.
This is my daddy.
This is my sister.
This is my daddy.
This is my son, Scott. He was killed while working in a highway work zone. When you drive through a work zone, drive like a life depends on it. Because it does.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on this Monday edition, the Monday extravaganza edition of the program. As we enter right now with number 2, I'm Sid. That's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kenny McGee on the Twitter, X, and he's again at IG.
As we kick off hour number 2 of this program, discussing the Chicago Cubs and the rest of the Major League Baseball's playoffs. For this segment, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. We'll get the up on the screen for you.
Going into baseball here, the Cubs lose to the Brewers and subsequently end their season in Game 5. They just couldn't get the bats going, and I was afraid that this would happen. Of course, Andrew Vaughn hit a home run the go-ahead home run that kind of sealed it for the Brewers. They're back in the NLCS, I should say. We'll get to what happened with the Cubs, because I think it's going to be interesting to see what the Cubs do during the offseason, and Kyle Tucker will discuss that in a second. But yeah, that was just you thought that, okay, Michael Busch hit a home run. Had hit that home run. So he was so he kind of get this on there. But of course, Vaughn, and of course Terrain, he also hit an insurance run. The Brewers, like I said, they're back into the Cubs. I mean, do I think it's a disappointing season for the Cubs? Yes and no. I mean, look, they made the playoffs, for the second, for the first time in a few years. So that's all you can ask for there. But you kind of wonder the injuries, and also the pitching kind of got to them a little bit as well. And the bats just weren't there, unfortunately. So you go, Ian Happ went 0 for Carson Keller was only one for 4. Kyle Tucker was an 0 for. We'll get to him in a second. But it's just one of those things where it was just like, the Brewers had a lot more urgency in this game on Saturday.
And like I said, congratulations to the Brewers. They move on to the National League Championship Series where they face the Dodgers. We'll preview that series coming up in a few. But dissecting this Cubs season, this series told you what the Cubs were this year. They're a very good home team and a so-so road team. Sometimes in baseball, it happens like this. All the home teams win all the home games, and that's what happened in this series. Milwaukee took the first two. The Cubs took the next two at the friendly confines. And of course, last Saturday night, the Cubs just couldn't get it going in Milwaukee. You can't blame the elements. You can't blame anything else because the roof at Miller Park, I'm not calling it that new corporate name. It was close for those 3 games in Milwaukee. So I think the key for me here, looking at from that game, was the 6th inning. The Cubs had 2 on, nobody out. And after that Kyle Tucker strikeout, you can tell that the air went out of that Cubs dugout right there. There was a bad chance, in my opinion, for them to get back in the game. Craig Counsell alluded to that in his post-game presser. But when the runners in scoring position, LaKeena, we saw them do that early in the year, the first 2.5 months. If they couldn't hit the home run, they were butting guys over. They were hitting, running. They were being aggressive. You didn't see that a whole lot after the All-Star break, and those bad habits crept in against a better team. That's why I had Milwaukee win this game last Saturday, because they're like, in my opinion, the National League version of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. They play the game right, fundamentally sound. They're not going to beat themselves, and if you make a mistake, they're going to take advantage of it, and that's what Milwaukee Brewers did in this series, and that's why they moving on to the next round. The Cubs are packing up for a winter vacation.
Yeah, now it's going to be, like I said, we'll talk more about what the Cubs do during also. We'll have plenty of time to talk about that because we got a preview, more stuff to preview. But I kind of feel like we'll be interested to see if Kyle Tucker does at least make an offer from the Cubs. I think I heard our buddies Jared Payne and Chris Bowden from WGN Vote for Instance show on game night last night, and I think I heard CB say that they might. I think I think Polymarket has Tucker perhaps getting north of $500 million. We know that the New York Cubs ownership is not gonna want to pay him that much because basically, I don't want to say they're cheap, but they're just not gonna pay him that money. And 2, you just don't know what the labor situation is gonna be. You may not have a season in 2027. So I think with their mindset about the Cubs ownership and other ownership's mindset is probably they may not want to sign guys long term. So that's going to be the key here. Justice Steele, we'll see how he looks coming back next year. You got to think that they need pitching. They need more hitting. And I really think that the Cubs really need to kind of, now that Jed Hoyer's got that money, he's going to be staying here for a few more years, as GM for the Cubs. He needs to kind of, be able to sort of open the checkbook and see what's out there on the market and what he can bring on for next year.
Like I said, we'll have plenty of time to dive deeper into the Cubs offseason plans, but we'll light the match here. Who says that Kyle Tucker is going to get $500 million from anywhere? Now, not just the Chicago Cubs, but anywhere. Not just because of the potential lockout in 2027. Look at the statistics that he put up. Remember, LaKeena, he had that bad finger early June. He came back, was okay, but the hamstring and the calf start bothering him, especially after the All-Star break. His numbers obviously went down. And with him, I believe he's, 27, 28 now. I'm not sure. You looked that up, but 28. Yeah, he's right in the middle of his prime as a player. And, the skills start to deteriorate in your early 30s. So even though it's right in the middle of his prime right now, who's going to pay a slugger $500 million? And I think some people around the league may have him as an injury-prone player. We know that he's good, but are going to play him as a DH long term. If that's so, I get that. But let's be honest, LaKeena, Kyle Tucker, when he was healthy, he was a better defensive outfielder than, say, a Suzuki. And when we saw that, now as a DH, he had to concentrate on hitting. He was okay, but that's just not his natural position. So, like I said, who's to say that he's going to get $500 million contract anywhere? I think, me personally, I think he's getting between 300 and 400. He making even 250, which is not bad because of his recent injury history, especially what happened this year on the north side. So we'll see who's going to shell out that kind of cash. I don't think it's going to be $500 million either, but he's still going to get paid, but it's going to have to be involved with a lot of incentives around him, because look what's happening with Alex Bregman right now. I know we all got upset talking about why did the Cubs didn't sign him. Remember, he was injured for the majority of the year for Boston. Boston won 89 games without him. So that's a recent test case you can look at right there.
All right, like I said, we'll talk more about all this. Now let's go to a classic game that occurred on Friday as the Mariners, thanks to Polanco's game-winning single that scored as Arena, as the Mariners beat the Tigers 3-2 and 15-15. Well, I wouldn't say it's a classic, but the Tigers, they actually got out of a couple of bases loaded jams, but just couldn't get their guys across. So unfortunately, the Mariners made the late plays late. J.P. Crawford got on base, got on third. He was replaced by Arena, I should say. And it's been one of those things where you're just like, I'm sure if you're the Trigger, definitely kicking yourselves that you probably should have won this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had the problem just like the Cubs. You can get them on, but you couldn't get them across home plate. Tariq Skubal, I think he has the most strikeouts in ever by a starting pitcher in an elimination game with 14. As we said, he was going to have a great performance. Could Detroit's offense back him up? The answer, unfortunately, was no. As we said last Friday on the show, even though you have boppers like Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson and Javi Baez, who I thought was great defensively in this series, they just couldn't put the bet on the ball to drive home that third run, and that lineup strikes out a lot. So that was another issue that we talked about last Friday on the show previewing Game 5. So I said Seattle was going to win. I believe you said it too. Seattle was going to win. And I think it was going to take it to after midnight here in Chicago, but it did. Seattle, Dan Wilson, their manager, he wasn't afraid to use his starting pitchers. I did believe he used 2 of them after extra innings on Friday to help get the job done. So Seattle, we said, they have a great bullpen. They have a great starting staff. They do the little things right, and that's what happened last Friday. They outlasted the Tigers in extra innings to win that series.
Now, they didn't have too long to celebrate. We'll talk about Seattle. They had to go right up north to Toronto for last night's game 1 of the ALCS. And, it looks like there was no celebration hangover as the Mariners beat the Blue Jays 3-1. And after being up 1-0 for down 1, I should say, most of the game. But it was really their hitting. I know Cal Raleigh started going there. Then Polanco's been the guy these playoffs so far. Had a couple of RBIs that both Arena scored that to go ahead. The insurance run for the Mariners, and they were able to pull it out. So, what do you think about that game last night?
Yeah, most people, including yours truly, thought there would be a celebration hangover, and them traveling across country from the Pacific Northwest to almost on the East Coast in Providence, Canada, in Toronto, Ontario. Well, like you said, they weren't affected last night. Miller did the job as a starter for the Seattle Mariners with 3 strikeouts and close to 4 innings pitched. I thought that Dan Wilson managed the game well for Seattle in terms of the pitching until the offense got going. So, as you mentioned, you talk about Cal Raleigh, we talking about Randy Arozarena, Eugenio Suarez, and Julio Rodriguez, the big guys that's supposed to step up. But it's those unsung heroes, like you said, with Jorge Polanco. He did it in the last series against Detroit. He did it again last night. Bryce Miller, as I was referring to, he did an admirable job last night as the emergency starter for the Mariners. But you talk about those guys, those unsung heroes. Jorge Polanco stepped through last night, not getting an RBI. So a couple of RBIs. So Seattle, they playing well right now. Let's see if they can keep it going. But for Toronto, on the flip side, we mentioned they finally put it together this year with their starting pitch, great starting pitcher to help out their bullpen. We know about their hitting, so let's see if their hitting will respond tonight, because if it doesn't, it's going to be a short series for them.
Yeah, I think that's really going to be the key. And Vlad, guys like Vlad Jr., Bo Bichette, I know George Springer got it going there, but they really need to get their guys going, because we know Seattle can outslug any team with the best of them. And I think if you're Toronto, you got to get your pitching wasn't really your issue. It was really like your lack of hitting. And like you said, Toronto needs to get their guys going, because if not, Seattle won't make you pay. And, we've seen it, do it, especially these last couple of months since they had all their trades and stuff. So I think this is going to be the thing here. Now, I want to say Seattle in 7, because I really think this could go 7. But again, if Toronto loses, it's going to be a long series for them.
I have Seattle in 6. I won't be surprised if it does go 7, but I think Seattle in 6 because they have the momentum right now of of what happened last Friday, and for stealing home field advantage from the Toronto Blue Jays. So I think that Seattle will do enough. I don't think they'll win tonight. I think Toronto wins game 2 tonight to even up that series in 1. But it's going to be tough for Toronto to go to Seattle after tonight, because the next 3 games will be in Seattle. As we talked about before on the show, Seattle ballpark, Safeco Park. I'm not calling it the new corporate name. Their ballpark is a pitcher-friendly ballpark. We know how dangerous that Toronto lineup is, and Toronto, they cannot play home run derby in Seattle's ballpark, because if they try to do so, they're going to be in trouble very fast. So I'm looking for Seattle to win this series in 6, and I think they have overall momentum right now. They have a better, slightly better roster than Toronto. We'll see what happens in that one.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here. Now, game 1 of the NLCS starts tonight. You got Milwaukee and the Dodgers. Of course, Milwaukee's the home team. Now, again, this isn't me being petty, maybe a little, but I think this is going to be this is going to be when experience, I believe, is really going to be a factor here. And I know the Dodgers have had a little bit of time to heal up and to kind of, I don't want to say celebrate, but they kind of get it going there. Blake Snell will go on the bump tonight for the Dodgers, and like I said, I think the experience is really going to be a factor here. I feel like of course, you got Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, Teoscar Hernandez. He's been kind of like the unsung, I don't want to say unsung hero, but he's been kind of like the guy in this whole playoffs for them, and Hae-Sung Lee, among others. So I really think it's really going to be the pitching. I think if Blake Snell can have a good one here and such, like this could be something. I think Clayton Kershaw goes tomorrow. And I know Tyler Glasnow's been up and down. But I know on the tail has been pretty solid. So I think if you're the Dodgers, you want to try to look. I know the Brewers gave them all they can handle in their regular season series, but the playoffs are a totally different thing. And this is the chance for the Dodgers to impose that experience on the Brewers.
I'm paying attention to this element in this series for the Dodgers. Shohei Ohtani, not his pitching, because he did well in game 1 against the Philadelphia Phillies almost a couple weeks ago. I think he'll get one of those starts, and when the series goes back to Los Angeles later on this week. But I'm paying attention to Shohei Ohtani's bat. He has not looked good in these playoffs thus far. I don't know if pitchers are just not afraid to go after him, or he's just chasing bad pitches. I don't know, but if Shohei Ohtani gets to going at the top of that line, I think it sets it up for the rest of those guys you just mentioned. And I'm looking for Teoscar Hernandez to continue his consistency at the plate as well. His defense is not bad, but he's known to give the Dodgers a big moment too with his bat, and he's been doing that thus far in these playoffs. So I'm looking for the Shohei Ohtani factor, not so much on the mound, but at the plate. He's been struggling. If he can have a good series, I think the Dodgers are going to the World Series. On the flip side for Milwaukee, yes, they hung up the L banner in their team photo last week after the victory over Chicago. I know they have the momentum right now. Their bullpen was excellent, especially in that clinching game last Saturday night. I just want to see how much do they have left in the tank. I'm talking about their bullpen to go against a better lineup in the Dodgers, because the Dodgers on the flip side, we know their issues with the bullpen. I know Roki Sasaki, their rookie, has evened things out by Dave Roberts putting him in that position, which he's helped out great. But Alex Valencia, Roki Sasaki, and Blake Treinen, those guys are your 3 frontmen in your bullpen for the Dodgers. I think it's going to come down to the bullpens who's going to outlast who. I think the Dodgers, I'll give them a slight edge because they have the experience. But if one of those 3 guys I mentioned cannot get the job done, Dave Roberts, when I have a problem, yanking them out of there and getting somebody else in there.
Now, I have the Dodgers in 6.
Give me the Dodgers in 7.
All right. Now, your schedule for this week in the playoffs. Today, of course, you get a doubleheader of both LCS, Seattle and Toronto. This game, will be at 4:03. It'll be on Fox and on FS1 simultaneously. The Dodgers and the Brewers, 7:08. That's the first pitch on TBS, True TV, and streaming on Max.
Tomorrow's schedule is game 2 of the National League Championship Series between Milwaukee and the Dodgers. Milwaukee will have home field advantage this year because they beat the Dodgers 7-0 in the regular season series. That's tomorrow on TBS and Max and True TV at 7:08.
All right, you got game 3 of the Blue Jays in Seattle. We'll see if this will be tied at 1 going into Seattle, or will Seattle be up to nothing. So yeah, that's going to be a totally different mindset about how this game, could this be a very pivotal game 3 for whatever the case, whoever gets the advantage in game 2.
In your game, your schedule for Thursday looks like this at 5:08 on TBS, True TV Max is game 3 of the Brewers Dodgers NLCS, this time from Dodger Stadium, followed by Blue Jays Mariners game 4 from Seattle at 7:33 p.m. Central Standard Time on FS1. And that's your schedule for the playoffs this week.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Social Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney, Brown with you. We got about 5 or 6 more minutes left, and and a couple changes here, real quick. Mike Schilt, who was the manager for the Mariners, he's retired. He released a statement saying that he basically cited a severe toll that has been taken on the job, both mentally, physically, and emotionally. So really not a surprise here. Bruce Bochy also was let go as well for the Rangers. And are you surprised by either one of these openings?
Maybe the way the Mike Schilt one, yes, I'm surprised by that. But Bruce Bochy, no. Bruce Bochy, I know his rumor has it that he may want to go back to San Francisco. I know that they fired Bob Melvin as well. That was right after the season a couple of weeks ago. So Bruce Bochy, if he wants to manage again, he can go back on the West Coast, whether it's San Francisco or San Diego, where he got his name known as far as starting his managerial career back in the 90s. So Bruce Bochy has some options here. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. San Diego, they'll have some work to do on their roster. Dylan Cease is a free agent. Could he come back to the White Sox? Personally, I don't think so, but you never know. And their payroll has been cut significantly as well, because you remember all their games are being produced by Major League Baseball, and this is year 2 of that. So we'll see if the Padres may have a surprise trade up their sleeve. So we'll see what happens with that. Going back to the Dodgers and Brewers series for just a moment. We always talk about the disparity in payroll. Coming into the series, LaKeena, the Dodgers have a total payroll of $415 million. The Milwaukee Brewers, you want to take a guess without Googling?
Yeah, I already know. It's like about 70 or 80 something. I already knew that.
Nope. $143 million total payroll. That's 21st in Major League Baseball.
Well, that's still that's still not a really significant difference. So we'll see which one gets the edge here in this series. It may not say much, but it'll be interesting what happens here. Now, real quick before we go, I know we got a couple more minutes here. A little WNBA action. The Aces, the Las Vegas Aces, congrats to them. They win their 3rd title in 4 years. They just swept the Mercury. Give the Mercury credit though. I think they got it down to like 4, but I believe both Chelsea Gray and Asia Wilson had back-to-back threes to kind of slam the door on that one. Asia wins her 3rd title. Gray actually wins her 4th. I believe she won one with the Mercury actually a few years back. But yeah, nice showing there. And I'm sure maybe the WNBA we'll see what the ratings are, but you wonder that they may rethink the whole best of 7 thing just for this reason. But yeah, a nice showing. We also Becky Hammond, has come into her status, as the top coach in the WNBA, especially today. So yeah, congrats to the Aces for pulling this sweep out on Friday.
Yeah, congratulations to their entire organization. For the WNBA, I guess this is putting the lipstick on the pig for this season, because Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky situation has not been good. Caitlin Clark, unfortunately, was injured in most of her second year in the Indiana Fever. So I guess the WNBA can be proud. I know they had new franchises in the Golden State Valkyries this year, and as far as attendance is concerned, they did very well. So I guess they can hang their head high on that. But they need Caitlin Clark healthy next year. And I think, as I said before, and I'll say it again, call me crazy, but I think Angel Reese has played her last game in the Chicago Sky uniform. We went over numerous times how bad an organization the Sky has been ever since they won the title a few years ago. So Angel Reese, we'll see where she goes if she plays next year. And that rivalry between her and Caitlin Carter is going to help us. Is going to be one of the factors that's going to sell this sport as well. So we'll see what happens on that front.
Yeah, gonna be very interesting. Also, they got a little bit some labor issues as well. So that's that could be that could be something to look out for too down the line. So we'll see what happens there. We're gonna take a really quick break. We'll talk a little college football week 7 as Illinois they get a reality check against Ohio State, and James Franklin is getting his pink slip and link card and also $49 million. And of course, shout out to one of our good friends of the show. She did something terrific last night for the Bulls preseason game, and also the Blackhawks. Oh gosh, they almost should have had a point, but again, we'll talk about that. A little sports media news and old school, especially some old school TV Monday coming up next. So a lot of fun, a little sports potpourri for you for the last half hour of today's Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. I'm LaKeena, this is Sid, and we'll have more fun coming up right after this.
Poof!
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kingdom McGee on the Twitter, X, and again at IG.
This is our sports potpourri segment, our last segment of the show for today. So if you have any questions or comments of any of the topics that we discussed on this program thus far, and if you have any predictions on tonight's Bears Commanders Monday Night Football contest, you could definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Little Week 7 college football recap here as Ohio State. Well, let's just say I didn't bother watching this game because I knew it was going to be bad. And yeah, now Illinois did have their chance to try to make this into a game, but they just the Buckeyes shut the door on that one. Julian Sayin had 166 yards and 2 TDs for the Buckeyes. Jeremiah Smith had a TD catch. Bo Jackson, no, not that Bo Jackson. There's a young small sophomore on the team named Bo Jackson for Ohio State. 47 rushing yards.
Do you know?
Well, what was his parents thinking with that? But I digress. 248 yards, a TD and interception for Luke Altmaier in a losing effort there. Unfortunately, like I said, for Illinois, it was just too much Ohio State. I mean, they had their chances, like I said, to make it into a game. They just weren't able to do it. And Ohio State has proven why they're the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah, and I thought that the final line were going to run the ball more effectively. They didn't do that. It was a play that one of the receivers stepped out of bounds, came back and made the catch. That goes to the Illini's chance to at least make it a game, and I was proven right. And I ended up watching something else. So Ohio State and Illinois. There's of course we all know that Illinois, they're still a very good team. I think they are out of the top 25 now, and so there's a talent discrepancy. We knew that coming into the game there, but Illinois, I think they're still going to finish the season strong. I think you could forget about the college football playoff now. This is twice they looked bad against top 5 teams. We saw what happened against Indiana a few weeks ago, and you saw what happened last Saturday down there in Champaign. So Illinois, I still believe they're a good team, but they got to turn around quickly to finish up strong for this 2025 season, which I believe they will.
Now, speaking of Indiana got their first ever win against a top 5 team, snapping a 46-game losing streak. They beat Oregon 30-20. Fernando Mendoza threw for 215 yards in the TD. Roman Hemby had 70 rushing yards and 2 TDs. Elijah Sarrett had 121 yards. On the flip side for Oregon, Dante Moore threw for 186 yards of TD, but also had 2 interceptions. Malik Benson had receiving TD as well, but it was really the defense for the Hoosiers, and they were just they sacked Moore 6 times. So of course, like I said, those 2 interceptions. So it was really the defense that kind of got to go in there for Indiana. And now I guess we got to take them seriously. I guess it's a football power. Well, for now anyway.
Yeah, and can we put Elijah Sarrett as one of the top 5 wide receivers in college football? He had another monster performance, 8 catches, 121 yards in the score. And as I was with most of the pundits said that Indiana was a good team, but they wouldn't duplicate what they did last year. But you can make an argument they're better this year than they were last year. So they beat Oregon on the road, as you mentioned. Oregon's offense did not look sharp, and give the Hoosiers defense a whole lot of credit for that. So it could be Indiana versus Ohio State. I don't know where the Big Ten title game is going to be this year. Assuming it's going to be in Indianapolis, but I think it's going to be those 2 schools in December to see who's going to represent the Big Ten in the college football playoff.
Yeah, they don't play each other in the regular season, so if both those teams take care of business, they will face each other in the first week of December. So that's going to be a lookout. Let's see what happens there. Now, Ole Miss, they kind of, I don't want to say they slept against Wazoo, but they kind of did. They did beat the Cougars 24-21. Texas A&M, no trouble, Florida 34-17. Down there, the Red River rivalry. Remember what I said? You throw away the rankings and the records out the window when needs to play each other. And Texas gave Oklahoma their first loss, 23-6. It was thanks to it was actually thanks to a punt return for TD that kind of put the game over for Texas. And Oklahoma, you can tell John Mateer, the quarterback, he wasn't really 100%. You tell he's still struggling with that shoulder injury. Just not not really the best showing by him. He did throw for 202 yards, but he also threw 3 interceptions, I should say, for the Sooners. And Malik Muhammad for Texas. I know he's been getting a lot of buzz. And that's been, that's one of the reasons why. And Ryan Neblett, like I said, had that punt return for a TD that kind of broke the game open for Texas, and they pulled off the upsets.
Quintravion Windsor was the only outstanding player for the Texas Longhorns offensively, in my opinion. 22 carries for 94 yards rushing. Arch Manning didn't have that great a performance. Yes, the offense for Texas did wake up in that second half, putting up 20-piece. But Arch Manning in that Texas offense still has a lot of work to do. I know some people want to put them in the SEC championship game. Not so fast. The way that Alabama's been playing lately, the way Georgia's been playing lately, both those schools are going to have a lot to say about that. But it was important for Texas just to get back on track for building team confidence. But Arch Manning still has a lot to work on.
Yep. So speaking of Alabama, they held off Mizzou. I'm sure that didn't make our buddies Mike Berman and Josh Friedman happy with this one, especially since Mizzou had their chances. I mean, they had another shot at it. I know Bo Pabula had those 2 interceptions, though I think he forced it, especially that last interception. Ty Simpson, he looked good, 200 yards and 3 TDs. For them. Jam Miller, 85 rushing yards. But Pabula was also the leading rusher for the Tigers. They should have used that running game a little bit more, but again, I know that I digress there. But yeah, Alabama, like I said, I mean, we'll see what happens there with them. But at least so far, they've been that early loss against Florida State, especially the way Florida State's been playing lately, has been it doesn't look good now, but they played Tennessee on Saturday, and we'll get to that, but on Friday. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in these last few games, because like I said, I'm not gonna put Alabama in the championship just yet, but they have looked good since that loss.
Yeah, it started with their win against Georgia a couple weeks ago, and of course, the week after that, they beat Vanderbilt, and of course, they took care of Missouri over the weekend. So Alabama's starting to build some team camaraderie and some confidence over this. The last 3 wins have been wins over 3 big-time ranked opponents. So they have it going right now. We'll see as they'll play Tennessee, another big test. So if they can get to that one, I think we can start taking the Crimson Tide seriously, but I want to see how they do against Tennessee next week.
So Tennessee, they held off against Arkansas. LSU, they held on against South Carolina. Georgia held on against Auburn. Georgia Tech, no trouble with Va Tech. Somewhat of a mild upset here over at the Coliseum. USC upset, well, if you want to call it an upset, Michigan 31-13. Jen Malava had 265 passing yards and a couple of TDs. But it was actually the defense for USC, which I don't think I've ever said that in the last couple of years. But they did. They kind of confused the Michigan offense and. Excuse me. And look at Riley. One of the few times you'll see him smile a lot. So yeah, they get their 5th win of the season.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley in defense has been a curse word to him over the last 3 years since he's been at USC. Just like Don Nelson, Hall of Fame coach in the NBA, when he used to coach, defense was a curse word to him. But we mentioned on our preview last Friday on the show, I thought Michigan would hang in there defensively, but their offense really disappeared in my opinion. Outside of Andrew Marsh's 8-catch, 138 yards receiving and a touchdown, no one else showed up for that Wolverines offense. On the flip side, for the Trojans, their star running back, King Miller. Yes, he was the king. Down with the king. Shout out Run DMC 1993. 18 carries, 158 yards and a touchdown. He was the engine that got that Trojans offense going. And I think we should start putting USC in that conversation as far as being one of those top teams in the Big Ten as well. I'm not saying they're going to play in the title game in December, but if they continue to roll like this and the way Malava is playing, USC will be knocking that on the door as well. And it's not going to be just because they're annoying. It's because they're a damn good football team.
They played Notre Dame this Saturday, and they took care of business against NC State. BYU needed 2 overtimes, but they beat Arizona. Sam Levitt being out for Arizona State, yeah, that was a big get for them, as Utah was able to take advantage of that 42-10. Coach Prime and his Buffaloes got a nice win against Iowa State. 24-17. That's 3 in a row for the losses in a row. Losses in a row, I meant for Iowa State there, and also Florida State. They suffered their second loss in last 3 weeks. They lost to Pittsburgh. UCLA, they're starting to get things go a little bit. They took care of Michigan State. Cincy held off UCF. Houston beat Oklahoma State. Nebraska held off Maryland. And Eastern Michigan, they beat Northern Illinois. Northwestern gets their first win at Happy Valley in a decade, holding them off 22-21. This also leads to one Mr. James Franklin getting his pink slip and late card. He got fired yesterday. And what's interesting here is that Franklin gets a $49 million buyout. So, somewhere he's probably not crying too much about this, but and also Drew Allard, he's done for the year, so it's probably I can say it's curtains for the Nittany Lions.
Yeah, I think James Franklin he could afford to sit out a year or two until a better job offer comes along. But as far as the actual game is concerned, Northwestern I thought hung in tough early. They only trailed by 1 point at halftime, but they woke up in the fourth quarter scoring 9 points. You could tell that Penn State was playing catch up in that second half for Northwestern, which is obviously their biggest win of the year. Preston Stone, 163 yards passing in a touchdown. But on the flip side for Penn State, Katron Allen, 16 carries, 90 yards in the score. And Devontae Ross, 7 catches, 115 yards receiving. LaKeena, with that Drew Allard injury, you can tell that Penn State offense just went to shell mode, and what Northwestern smells blood in the water, and they came out with a big 1 point win. I think Northwestern, I hate to say it, LaKeena, I think I had them finishing at 500, going to a small bowl game. I'm not saying they're going to the Sugar Bowl and all that little nonsense, but they could go to a slightly above average bowl game. They can finish out the season strong. And I think this should give this team a little bit more confidence, no matter what the circumstances for Penn State is. And they give this young Wildcats team confidence going to the second half of the year.
Yeah, they still got to play Nebraska, USC, Michigan, and Northwestern Illinois. Could they win and they play Purdue this weekend? So could they win a couple of those games? Get to 6. Maybe they could. I mean, they could. They could win the Purdue game on Saturday, and they might have a shot at those other games that I mentioned. So we'll see what happens. But a nice win for David Braun and his guys. The Kansas State no trouble with TCU. Wake Forest beats Oregon State. Iowa shut out Wisconsin. Clemson, quietly, they won a couple in a row. They beat Boston College. Boise State no trouble with New Mexico. Hawaii beats Utah State. San Diego State beats Nevada. And your buddy PJ Fleck, speaking of Purdue, they actually beat Purdue on Saturday, holding them off 27-20.
Yes, the Minnesota Golden Gophers offense decided to wake up in the fourth quarter, scoring 14 unanswered points. Drake Lindsley for the Golden Gophers, 2 touchdown passes off of 232 yards passing. And Mr. Darius Taylor, 6 catches for 67 yards to tell Minnesota improved to 4-2 overall, 2-1 in Big Ten play. It was a couple of games I want to go over with you if I can find it via my computer screen real quick. Let's see. UCLA, Michigan State. I think we can say that Michigan State's surprise start is fugazi because now they're 0-3 in the Big Ten after losing to UCLA. I did not see that coming. And also too with Colorado, I just want to give a shout out to Coach Prime. I know he had a medical procedure, but Kadian Salter played well. 16 of 25, 255 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. And the big star wide receiver for that game was Joseph Williams, 8 catches, 128 yards in a score. As I said, the last couple of weeks, Colorado had a chance to win a couple of their games. They faltered in the fourth quarter. Last week, they came out of the locker room scoring 17. Outscoring Iowa State 17-7 in that second half to hang on for that 7-point win. I'm not saying that Colorado's going to football playoff. They got too many losses for that, but I still believe they could get qualified for a decent ball game. I think they have an opportunity to at least get 7 wins for the Colorado Buffaloes.
Yeah, going back to the Michigan State game first, once Aiden Childs got hurt, it was kind of all she wrote there. Now, as far as UCLA, like I said, now they've got a pretty tough schedule. They play Maryland. They host Maryland on Saturday, so we'll see if they can win that game. Then they got to go at Indiana. They host Nebraska, and they got to go at number 1 Ohio State, and they finish off, of course, because they're crosstown rival SC. Now, could they win look? They're 2-4 now. Assuming they beat Maryland, they could they win 3 of those games? Perhaps maybe go to a better bowl game. Do I think they can pull off a couple of those upsets? I mean, look, they've got Tim Skipper and Jerry Neuheisel. The offense is playing pretty well lately, so we'll see once they start facing better competition. But I guess you got to gain that confidence. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, Colorado, I know Iowa State has had a lot of injuries. So they've been, like I said, Colorado's been up and down. So this was a nice win by them and against Iowa State. They've been in free for all. But again, like I said, they could probably get into a bowl game, sure. But like I said, they gotta look at their schedule. If I could bring their schedule up here. It's going to be interesting, though, to see if they can kind of get it going, get the consistency going. They do play Utah. That's going to be a tough one. They get Arizona, West Virginia, Arizona State, and K-State to finish out the year. Could they win a couple of those games? Maybe, and get to 6, get to 5, and perhaps make it to a bowl game? Sure. But, again, it's just going to have to depend on how they play these next few weeks.
And they got to run the ball with more consistency, like they've been doing the last couple of weeks to start off games, but they got to wait for them. So they need to run the ball with more consistency, in my opinion, especially now with Pro Football Hall of Famer Marshall Faulk on their coaching staff helping them out in that department. I want to go back to the Big Ten, talk about Nebraska and Maryland. Of course, Nebraska won a big one on the road, 34-31. You talk about Maryland now being in maybe almost in free fall. 1-2 in the Big Ten now, 4-2 overall. But Nebraska 5-1, doing it quietly, 2-1 in Big Ten play. Dylan Raiola is starting to play one of the top 5 quarterback in the Big Ten Conference. He had 4 touchdown passes off of 20 and 29 passing. Is it finally time to start taking Nebraska seriously?
I think so. Like I said, their only loss was to Michigan, so. Again, Matt Rule kind of sort of like, hey, look, because that was their thing last year. They couldn't win on the road, so they got a nice road win there against Maryland. Now, looking at their schedule, look, could they perhaps maybe sneak in there? I mean, they play Minnesota. You got to think Minnesota. They got a decent shot there. They got Northwestern and USC. Then you got to go at UCLA, like I said, Penn State, Iowa. Now, could they win a couple of those games? Perhaps. I don't know if they're going to be in it for the Big Ten title, but I think they could definitely they went to a decent bowl game last year. Could they get to an even better bowl game this year? We'll have to wait and see. But, I can see Nebraska getting a couple more of those wins. We'll have to wait and see.
Okay, just wrapping up our college football talk here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We'll dive deeper into the big time matchups on our next show on Friday. We're just taking a look at skimming through the schedule quickly. Georgia Tech and Duke, Washington and Michigan. That'll be the big noon game on this coming Saturday on Fox. Also, you got Oklahoma and South Carolina. That should be interesting one there. You mentioned Purdue and Northwestern. Can Northwestern improve their record to 3-1 in the Big Ten, 5-2 overall? Of course, Ohio State and Wisconsin will be the big game on CBS. Wisconsin's in free fall. We'll see how it was that. Indiana and Michigan State, Texas A&M and Arkansas, among others. Ole Miss and Georgia. That should be a fun one. So time is of the essence. It's starting to get exciting in college football. As you said, I believe last week, you talked about USC and Notre Dame as well in prime time next Saturday night. So time is of the essence of college football. The season's going by too fast. I think you mentioned this last week, and I agree with you. But some of these matchups are starting to get better as the weeks go on.
Yeah, get deep and deeper into conference play. So, like I said, we'll see. Like I said, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, we'll get more into it on Friday there. But college hoops starts in a few weeks, and the AP Top 25 has released their number 1 men's team. And do you want to guess who that team is?
Duke. I'm not on Google.
They're number 6.
Okay, Duke's number 6. That's a No, not North Carolina, not Illinois. Who won it all last year? I know I'm blanking out, but
Florida. Florida, they're number
Florida,
3.
they're number 1.
No, they're number
3.
3.
Okay. Okay.
I'll give you one more guess. You were
Wow.
close with Illinois. We'll say they're in the Big Ten.
Oh, Big Ten. Okay. Ohio State, not Michigan. Now I gotta consider these West Coast schools. Oregon.
No, they're not even in. They're just outside the top 25.
Wow. Okay. Who is it?
It's Purdue for the first time in their school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Purdue. Yeah, the guy's highest number.
That makes sense.
The guy's highest number 2, I should say, under of course Gene Katie back in the 87-88 season. But this is actually the first time that they'll be the preseason number 1 Matt Painter squad. They got 35 to 61 votes. Real quick, your top 25: Purdue, Houston, Florida, the defending champs. UConn got a couple of first place votes. St. John's, Duke, Michigan. BYU, I know they spent a lot of money on their athletes this year. They got a lot of NIL money now. Kentucky, Texas Tech, Louisville, UCLA, Arizona, Arkansas, Alabama, Iowa State, Illinois, Tennessee, Kansas, Auburn, Gonzaga, Michigan State, Creighton, Wisconsin, and speaking of North Carolina, they're in the top 20. That's just outside the top 25.
It's going to be interesting to see how Illinois does this year. And they lost a couple of guys to the NBA. So Brad Underwood almost had to have an overall makeover of their roster. We'll see what happens with them. I'm interested to see, you mentioned Rick Pitino, so St. John's Redstorm. They were one of the best teams in college basketball last year. They had an ugly loss last year in the tournament to John Calipari's Arkansas Razorbacks. And just want to see if Rick Pitino, they can no pun intended, start up that fire again, because it's going to be hard to repeat what they did a year ago, despite what happened with that ugly ending in the tournament last year. Benching one of your top guys in the process in that last game.
Yeah, that was just a brutal game, and that's pretty bad. But good to see what happens there. I know Florida. I know a lot of their guys are gone, but Todd Gold, to his credit, has been able to reload, and now number 3 in the preseason. So we'll see what happens there. Now, Danny Hurley from UConn. Now we found out that he was actually close to doing some TV, had a TV gig lined up, but he came back, and look, it wasn't the best of times last year, but they got a top good recruiting class there at number 4. So yeah. It's sneaking me out. I think it's about 24 games till the start of the college hoop season on the men's side. So, who's going to be going to Philly this year for the Final Four? So that's gonna be the fun part about this season coming up. There's no favorites. So I'm not slapping Danny Hurley up. This silly that's been getting on my nerves these last few hours. So my bad.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena here with you, taking you down to the wire here on this Monday extravaganza edition. Sticking with basketball, LaKeena, congratulations to our girl, Miss Kylan Mills of the Big Ten Network. Let's give her a round of applause. She filled in nicely for Adam Amin last night on the Bulls broadcast on CHSN as the Milwaukee Bucks defeated the Chicago Bulls in preseason action at the UC. But Kylan Mills, I know we may sound a little bit biased, but that's okay. But I thought she did a great job filling in for Stacey, and she did a nice job singing that nationwide jingle. We're not going to attempt to do it here. One, they don't pay us, and number 2, we don't want those YouTube streets chasing after us. But outside of that, for what I saw, I caught the replay early this morning before we went on air. But 2 questions for you, LaKeena. One, what did you think about Kylan Mills' performance? And number 2, what did you think about the Bulls' performance?
Yeah, I saw clips of her. I know she was posting a lot on her IG, and like I said, I've heard her call women's volleyball, men's and women's soccer, men's volleyball. We know she does sideline for the Big Ten Network for their football. So yeah, she was chipping in for Adam Amin, of course, who he had NFL commitments, but it's she sounded great. I mean, I know she had a nice rapport with Stacey. I know Stacey kind of ripped her for the jingle and how she sung the jingle, but that was actually pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, she did a nice job, and I think you might be seeing more of her. Like I said, I mean, he's going to be doing a lot of NFL and I think some college hoops commitments as well for Fox. So you might be seeing a little bit more of her now. As far as the
I hope so.
Yeah, same. But yeah, no, she's a busy bee. So we'll try to get her back on the podcast soon. I know you said that. I know I saw you said that, comments her about it. She said she's gonna she'll try to work out. So I know she's been like super busy. But as far as the Bulls performance, like I said, I've been watching highlights. I didn't watch that first game against Cleveland. I know they won that preseason game against Cleveland, but I mean, I guess so far, I mean, it's kind of going as I expected. I mean, happy birthday, Montes Buzelis. He can now drink now. He's 20. He just turned 21 today, so he can now drink. He had 19 points, lead the way for the Bulls there in that loss. I know Giddy had 14. Vooch 6. He didn't play that many minutes. He only had 6 points, but yeah, I mean, it's sort of like I said, I don't know what I'm expecting for the Bulls. I'm not really expecting much. So if they win like close to 40, get close to 500, okay, fine. But whatever.
Don't forget, we'll have our Bulls NBA preview show in our Power Hour around this time next Monday right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago to get you ready for the 2025-26 NBA season. So join us along with some. Hopefully, we'll have our usual suspects to help preview the Bulls in the rest of the NBA. I think the rest of the NBA is going to be interesting outside of Chicago, especially with the NBA on NBC returning. Of course, you have Amazon Prime making their debut covering NBA games this year. So we'll talk about it more in depth next week. But as far as the Bulls are concerned, I know they scored a lot of points in the paint. I believe around 50 points in the paint last night. You mentioned Montes Buzelis. I think he will improve this year, especially with his outside shooting. He had a couple of 3-point shots last night. It was 2 for 6 to be exact from downtown. And looking at some of the other guys like Ayo Dosunmu, I know Kobe White didn't play last night, but Ayo Dosunmu, he's been improving every year he's been in the Bulls uniform. Noah Essengay, the French rookie, he looked good in some spots last night, but I'm still worried about Javon Carter. We all thought that he was going to get released after last season, but no. Maybe will he be on this roster the entire year? Maybe, but he's playing like he wants to stay on the NBA roster. So he's been looking good thus far. But the one thing that's really bothering me the most, LaKeena, is their defense. And we talked about it the last few years, especially their interior defense is not good. I don't know what the hell they're going to do between now and the start of the season, but they really got a lot of work to do defensively. They can score the basketball, which is nice, but you guys, even still in today's NBA, you still got to stop some people. And I don't know the Bulls are ready to do that consistently.
Basically, it mirrors what we've seen the last few years. So
there you go.
Yeah. So that's I don't want to waste my time talking about the Bulls because, like I said, they're gonna make me go crazy here now. Now, as far as the Blackhawks, I mean, a team that hasn't really been, giving more thrills. But again, after they missed a chance of getting a point after Caden Gould's late goal with less than 16 seconds left, helped the Canadians beat the Blackhawks in their home opener 3-2. And unfortunately, yes, they're going to be playing harder, but it's still there's still going to be a lot of shortcomings from the Blackhawks. And yeah, it's a little, it's so far not good. They're 0-2-1. They play the new Utah Mammoth, which that's a weird name, but I digress.
Formerly known as the Arizona Coyotes. If you really want to go back, formerly known as the Winnipeg Jets.
Winnipeg Jets. Yep. So
the original Winnipeg Jets.
Yes, the Temu Salami in that group, but
yes.
That'll be at 7:30 on if you got ESPN Plus, you can check it out there. But Bedard's looking okay. I know Frank Nazar's been looking good for the Blackhawks as well. He leads them in assists and points so far.
He had 2 on Saturday.
Season. Yeah, early on the season, but it seems like this is the same situation. Is not finishing up games for the Blackhawks.
Yeah, we talked about with new head coach Jeff Blashill. It's going to be about effort, not so much wins and losses this year. We'll see what some of the new guys they expect to come up later on this year, and hopefully they can make that jump. Maybe they'll get to 75 points. That's saying something, especially in the Western Conference that's wide open. No, the Blackhawks are not going to be there at the top, but if they can make just a slight improvement over what they did over last year when they gave Luke Richardson the boot the first couple months into the new year last year, they'll definitely set something heading towards the future. But right now, let's talk about see who could be here for the long haul. And Sammy Knight, he had an okay performance. I know he gave up 3 goals. He had 25 saves, but I expect him to improve as the season goes along. They named him the number 1 guy. I think he will eventually earn that spot, but right now he's just got to get some more experience under him to start the new year.
Like I said, they play the Monmouth. Tonight, this stupid has getting on my. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty bad. I think. Yeah, they've had they
got more name changes to the late great Prince.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so they might not.
Why don't you?
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what happens here. Now, like I said, super early in the season, but yeah, the Panthers have looked good. Carolina's looked good. Colorado, so far has looked good. So there's the Kraken. What's Kraken? So yeah, so far those are the kind of top teams.
Shout out Terry Boyd.
Yeah, cracky. So yeah, and also Boston as well. So those are kind of your top teams so far. For again, very early on in the NHL season, but yeah, it's been pretty exciting.
All right, you listen to Second City Sports Zone, Sports Zone Chicago City. LaKeena here with you as we close out the show around this time every Monday by saluting an old school TV show, special, things along that line. But for this week, since the Chicago Bears are playing the Washington Commanders tonight in our nation's capital, and the Chicago Bears celebrating their 40th year of the 85 World Championship, us here at Second City Sports, periodically, not every week, but periodically throughout this football season on our show, we'll celebrate with the Bears in honor of the 85 World Championship season. LaKeena will take you back to September 29th, 1985 on the lakefront at the old Soldier Field. CBS, Tim Ryan and Johnny Morris was on the call for this game for CBS. It was the old Washington Redskins against the Chicago Bears. The Washington not Commanders now, but the old Washington Redskins had jumped out to an early 10-0 lead before the Monsters on the Midway exploded for 31 second quarter points, 45 points overall, en route to a 45-10 victory. Emory Moorhead caught a touchdown pass from Jim McMahon. Dennis McKenna caught a touchdown pass from Jim McMahon. Willie Goff kicked off the scoring party with a 99 kickoff return. Jim McMahon threw a touchdown pass to Walter Payton, and I believe this was Walter Payton's last touchdown pass in the NFL. He threw run to Jim McMahon in that during that scoring outburst in the second quarter there. The Redskins had 3 total sacks for the game. The Chicago Bears had 4 sacks as a team for the game, including one for Richard Dent, Tyrone Keys, Wilbur Marshall, and the late great Steve Mongo McMichael.
Instantly, they had Washington had more first downs than the Bears, but they had those quick scores, so they were able to kind of get things going there. And also, they had less net yards, 256 yards for the Bears. I think they had like 300 something for Washington, and unfortunately, they couldn't get it going on offense. Ironically, this is a book out a couple of weeks before Joe Theismann, who was a QB at the time, won a Super Bowl a couple years ago for Washington. Got hurt, his leg messed up, courtesy of Lawrence Taylor. You guys can Google that game, but yeah, I mean, this is sort of like started the dominance, I guess you can say. This is kind of like, one of those things where I don't want to say they were rebuilding. I'm talking about Washington, but they were kind of, they had a lot of injuries early on in the year, and unfortunately they just couldn't get their rhythm going. And that Washington team, I guess you could say a lot of people thought this was going to be touted as a decent game, but the Bears took care of that pretty quick. So unfortunately, with that 31 point second quarter, so they ended up finishing third at 10-6. So not bad, but they lost tiebreaker to the Giants and the Cowboys. So unfortunately, they just missed making the playoffs. So yeah, that kind of was a curtains for that one.
Yeah, you can watch that entire game in HD on the YouTube channel called 1980s Football Cards. I watched it last week, and it looks great in HD. Remember, we didn't have none of this technology back then. You didn't even have stereo yet for your broadcast. So this is how far we've come from the last 40-plus years or so. And some of the names you may recognize if you're football/sports historians like us for the old Washington Redskins, head coach Joe Gibbs, wide receivers Art Monk, Hall of Famer, and Gary Clark. And these two names should ring a bell if you're a true football historian. Charles Mann, who won another Super Bowl later in his career with the 49ers on that 94 team. And he had trouble, unfortunately, off the field, which unfortunately they kind of tainted his career. But when he was good, he was good. The great Dexter Manley, number 72.
Yeah, he's actually doing better for what I've heard. So yeah, unfortunately, the 80s and craziness and stuff. So unfortunately, but yeah, so not a bad list of future Hall of Famers and decent players from that squad. Excuse me, at Washington. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in this game. Don't think it's going to be a blowout, but it won't. I don't think it won't be a Hail Mary either. I'll say that. I know we both had. Like I said,
real quick, how many times do you think ESPN will reference that play?
Well,
I don't think it's going to be as much as people think.
No. Joe and Troy don't usually like rehash those types of things. So yeah, they may show like once at the beginning, and that's probably about it.
All right, so for Old School TV Monday, we salute the 85 Chicago Bears World Championship season by taking a look back at the Week 3 matchup between the Bears and the old Washington Redskins. 45-10 rout victory during the 85 season along the lakefront at Old Soldier Field. LaKeena, take us home.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, execute again the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sidney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports Live, They Live in Color, every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports Live, They Live in Color, every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And if you miss a segment, whether it's our NFL picks or when we talk college football, hoops, basketball, hockey, or when we do our NBA Power Hour season preview special coming up next Monday, no worries. You can catch the replays anytime, anywhere of our show, Sean Sierra Sports, the Smoke Fellows, and all the other great stuff. You can catch the replays anytime, anywhere on the Sports Zone Chicago Sports YouTube channels.
And we will provide.
All right, enjoy the LCS baseball, the preseason basketball as they're starting to finish up, the hockey, and I know there's going to be some college hoops action. I guess they're starting, I think, later this week, so make sure you guys check that out as well. And if you're into women's college volleyball, there are some big games later this week as well. So enjoy all that. You love this time of year, so we're going near the end of the year, but it seems like the more of the sports are coming up. So this is an exciting time of year for every sports fan. Like it's like Christmas all the time. So for Sid, I'm LaKeena. Be good to each other. Just be safe out there. This has been Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. We'll see you guys on Friday.
Duh, Bears. Holla!